Hello and welcome to another World of Tanks video. I'm Org and this time I am going to be giving you my first impressions of the new British tanks on the 9.5 test server. I'm going to skip half of them because, well, they're already in the game essentially. Half the new tanks, the M2 Light, the Stuart, the Sherman, the General Legrand, and the Achilles are already in the game as the, well, M2 Light, M3 Stuart, the M3 Lee, the Sherman, or M4, and the M10 Tank Destroyer. Essentially the British versions are just the exact same thing, but with a British gun as an alternative option. But of the rest, we have the Archer, which is the Tier 5 Tank Destroyer, which you see here. And, well, it comes off the Valentine light tank, and essentially it's a Valentine chassis with a 17-pounder gun put on it, which, well, as you saw, it's actually pretty effective. I should also point out that this is the test server, so nothing you see here is finalised, and actually I imagine a bit will change. And I'm also playing with a lot more ping than I'm used to, so you'll have to excuse my poor shooting at times. And sometimes you just can't penetrate their armour. I should also say that for some reason the replays are not working optimally, so there will be instances where the frame rate just plummets, so you'll just have to bear with them, I'm afraid. But anyway, on to the Archer, Tier 5 Tank Destroyer. 17-pounder gun, which, well, it's already in the game. It's on the TOG and the Black Prince. And, well, those are Tier 6 and Tier 7 tanks, I believe, and this is a Tier 5 tank with it, which is pretty impressive. It's pretty typical for British guns. It's got very high penetration, very good rate of fire, very good accuracy, but very low damage. And, well, you've seen in this game that it's done me alright. The other thing about this tank is that, well, the gun was mounted backwards. So you see me at the moment, I'm driving forward quite slowly, but in a minute I will get tired of this and I will turn the tank around and drive backwards, which is something this tank is actually much faster at. I seem to have just forgotten. Oh no, I've spotted targets that I can't shoot at right now. Okay, get a shot off there, but my team's probably going to kill it first. Yep. Okay, here we go. So as you see, in reverse, it's actually got a fair bit of speed. The thing is that at the moment, this isn't actually like a Valentine. It's lost a lot of armour. I think it's only 20mm all round, whereas the Valentine has up to 60, I believe. Like I said, this is early days on the test server, so this tank could be getting a bit more armour. But all around, it's not actually bad. It's got a very good gun, very accurate at, well, long ranges. And, well, seems to have a decent camouflage value. And, well, it's actually, yeah, actually got decent mobility here as well. See here, last tank on the enemy team. It's an Achilles, the new, well, newish Tier 6 Tank Destroyer. As I said earlier, it's just a M10 but with a British gun. And they actually managed to get a kill, which doesn't happen often on the test server. Anyway, here's the one we've been waiting for a long time. This is the Sherman Firefly. This is at Tier 6 and it's in the Land Lease line. So this is the new line of British tanks that you will unlock this from the Sherman Mark III. And this tank, at the moment I'm kind of unimpressed with it. The one thing it's got for it is an absolutely amazing rate of fire, which you see here. And it's got the same 17-pounder gun as, well, in the Archer, which we just talked about, and also the TOG and the Black Prince. And the Tier 6, 7 and 8 British tank destroyers are in the game currently. But the downsides of it is that, well, it's just a regular Sherman, a Tier 5 Sherman in terms of armour and mobility. And, well, the gun's got great rate of fire, great penetration, very good accuracy. Actually, accuracy is pretty average, really. but it's not bad accuracy and poor damage. It's actually got very poor gun depression, which is a characteristic of this new line of tank destroyers from this point on. I have a very strong feeling that the rate of fire might be nerfed slightly, since it fires almost twice as fast as any other tank that this gun's mounted on. At which point I think the Sherman Firefly might actually... It's difficult balancing act because there's very little going for this tank other than the rate of fire of its gun and the penetration of its gun. So if you take away the rate of fire, which you kind of have to because it's got really good DPM at the moment, there won't really be a lot going for it. So in other words, I'm not sure what to make of this tank. At the moment it's good because it's got the DPM, but I have a feeling that might be going in the near future. At which point, I think it might become quite average. And we see here, we've kind of pushed up. We're into the enemy base, but for some reason, well, most of the enemy team are hiding up on the northern ridge somewhere. And here's a Firefly. Now, of course I miss because it's a test server. And now I stop and aim and manage to put a shot in. Oh, that was my second kill. And yeah, the replays also do this sometimes. We'll get back with my tank in a minute. Spotted an ELC, but my shot, well, I didn't take a shot, but my allies miss. Well, as you can kind of see, there's 9 enemy tanks somewhere along this ridge line. And I am charging up to get them. You know this isn't going to end well for me. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But what you probably don't know is that my team's actually about to lose this game quite badly. So I'm looking for where the ELC went. Well, there it is. Yeah, that's artillery one-shotting me. But anyway, next one. The Challenger. This is the Tier 7 tank destroyer, and you can unlock it from either the Achilles or the Sherman Firefly, and it's a really good tank. I haven't had any decent games in it, but well, it's a Cromwell tank with a 17-pounder gun. As you can see here, if you ignore the stuttering a bit, it's really fast. The gun's feeling a bit underpowered by this point in Tier 7, but it's not bad. The gun depression's not great, but, well, it got me a kill there. I think it was a tracked Firefly, but whatever. So yeah, this is kind of how the line is. Good mobility, not a lot of armour, good guns. Unfortunately, not a lot of hit points. At Tier 8, we have the Charioteer, which at the moment I think is basically the high point of this line. Because again, it's a Cromwell chassis, but this time, well, at the moment it has a 105mm gun on it. But I hear rumours that they'll be taking this off and leaving it with only a 20-pounder gun. But either option at Tier 8 is still pretty good. And, well, like the Cromwell, which it's based on, it's still really fast, very manoeuvrable. But it has no armour.
Enemy armour is hit.
And you can see I've kind of got myself into a bit of an awkward spot, and that I've gone racing up with the light tanks. But, well, it's easy to do in the Charioteer because it's so fast. But I have managed to get a couple of sneaky shots in. And you'll also see that the default ammo for this is armour piercing special premium ammo, I forget what it's called right now. Which, well, gives you, well, it's good to have. I think Hesh was the premium ammo for this tank. So here we go. Time to be aggressive. Well, not really, but we might as well, because the enemy's not popping over. There's a Centurion. And I fire way too late. But that happens quite a bit when you've got a high ping. And my team finish it off. Coming around the corner. Well, I was going to, but I accidentally block my ally. Now, well, I know there was a Waffentrager, blah blah blah. Waffenschläger Aufpanzervier around the corner here because, well, the minimap thing, you have to turn it on, and for some reason it's not popping on the replays, but I had it on during the game. And I thought I could beat its reload, but I can't. But when my reticle catches up, I managed to put in a fairly solid hit. And of course it's my turn to reverse into an ally. And you see, I've already reloaded. This gun, well, it's a pretty typical British gun. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's good penetration and quick reload. I managed to get the kill on that Waffenschläger. And well, it's moving up. See, I'm kind of using this like a medium tank, which probably isn't the way it's going to be used in game. It's actually not bad using it like this, since it's got the rate of fire and damage per minute that it can essentially just be used as an upgunned Cromwell. So I was planning on pulling up there to outflank the enemies in the centre, but we see a tortoise pushing up. Doesn't look like it wants to press, so I move up here with my original plan. The T-54 dies before I get a shot off. But there's a Rheinmetall Borsig pushing around. With a decent shot in the front there. I was hoping the Rheinmetall would pop out some more, but it looks like it's going to be the AMX-50. Managed to bounce off its angled armour. Managed to put a shot in there, but the 5100's charging in, and the frames FPS drops to nothing. Well, obviously I got a shot in, but there's no way you could tell that. And well, it's dead. Very exciting moment. It's a bit of a shame you all missed it. Anyway, now we have the Conway, which is the Tier 9 tank destroyer. And this time it is a Centurion chassis with a 120mm gun on it. And so it's feeling a bit different from the previous tanks in that it's still mobile, but not as much as the ones based on the Cromwell chassis. And here you see me being humiliated by an RU-251. Which obviously can reload a lot faster than me. But I put a shot in. This gun, it's still really good, it's quite fast firing. It does a fair bit of damage, it averages around 400 per shell. It's got good penetration, good accuracy. But it just doesn't seem quite as impressive as the 105mm on the Charioteer, tier for tier. But this tank, it just seems a bit slower, the gunfire is a bit slower, the penetration's better but not a lot better. The damage is better but not hugely better. And here's, well, the ping really hurt me there. And I get a bit stupid. And of course this tank, like all the rest of them, has no armour, I decided to push up. And well, since I went to that trouble, I might as well wait and put a shot in. And a bit of damage to the E50M. So I'm not having a very good game so far. Put one shot into the RU-251 and one shot into the E50M, but I've lost almost all my health. But I'm going flanking because I'm obviously not doing any good there. And I always spot a Foch 155. My snapshot misses. And of course my turret ring's damaged, so it's going to take me a long time to turn this turret around. I should also mention that all these tanks, with the exception of the Archer, have turrets, which is very good on a TD. The next one, you'll see the Tier 10 doesn't have a fully traversable turret, but still good to have. So waiting for my turret to come around, and then I'll head down and put some shots into the Foch and the Object 140 down here. Something blew up there, the Object 140. And now I put a hit into the Foch 155, and it's coming around again, but I've reloaded. That's my third shot into it, and I'm pulling back. That thing could kill me very quickly. thinking about poking back around to get it, but I changed my mind. I'm still going to go help out my friendly light tank deal with this Conway. You see, it's still getting up a fair bit of speed. It's got decent acceleration. The terrain doesn't slow it down at all, but I just wouldn't call it fast, whereas the Charioteer and the Challenger before it both were quite fast. I suppose the other downside of this tank is that, well, the turrets are starting to get very large, which is a downside, especially since, well, it's got no armour, well, next to no armour, and its gun depression is also rather bad. So you have to present a quite large target to the enemies if you want to shoot them. And there's the Tier 10 British tank destroyer. Well, I put a shot in, but I decide I'm not going to hang around there. And then I am charging up. I was hoping to put a shot into the FV4005, but it's about to die, so I was hoping for a shot in the mouse. But the poor gun depression and the poor gun elevation of this tank prevents me from doing so. So I kind of feel this is a bit of an average tank at the moment. I'm probably playing it wrong since I tend to be playing it like a medium, but whatever. Anyway, here we have the Tier 10, the, well, FV4005 Stage 2. It has the same gun that is currently on the FV215B183. The only difference being that this one fires a bit quicker, at least I think that's the only difference. And well, this tank's also more mobile. It's also based on the Centurion chassis, and it has performance fairly similar to that of the Conway in terms of mobility. Oh no, it seems a bit more sluggish, but similar. It doesn't have a fully traversable turret. It can only turn about 30 degrees to the left or right, maybe even less than that. And oh, this bit here's going to be a laugh. On the test server, sometimes the accuracy is a bit lacking. So I've gotten tired of waiting, so I pop over to take a shot at this FV215. And well, my shot misses, but I get tracked. And I'm pulling back. But fortunately my team finally get off their arse and start pushing up. That single enemy heavy tank was holding up two of our heavy tanks and a tank destroyer. So that was kind of a bit disappointing. But here you can kind of see what this gun does. There is an IS-7 AFK. And I take the last 129 of its health. And I actually think that might have been one of only 3 shots I've landed in this tank in the 7 or 8 games I've played in it. I've just been having a really bad time in this thing. Possibly because I do things like you see me now, where I am leading the charge, despite having no armour and, well, not even loaded. Well, now I'm loaded, but I wasn't. But actually, to be fair, this is the only game I've done that, and most times I'm usually sitting there trying to play a pretty typical tank destroyer role. But the test server ping and serverical issues, well, not issues, just the poor internet connection I have with Russia, has been preventing me from getting shots on. So it's probably because of that, but I don't really like this tank much. It just feels like the whole line up to this point has basically been around good mobility, good guns, good rate of fire, rapid, good penetration. And at this one, the mobility's declined a fair bit. The gun's still good, but it doesn't have a decent rate of fire anymore. It's still lacking in armour though, and it's still lacking in gun depression. And honestly, it kind of feels like just worse than the Conway, to be honest. As in, like, I know on paper the gun is better. At least it does more damage. With heat shells, I believe it's got way more penetration, and even with armour piercing shells, it's got decent penetration. And of course, with high explosive and heat, it does a lot of damage. But all of that means nothing, since I've not been able to land any shots. So I might have a bit of a negative impression of this tank because of that, but at the moment I'm kind of unimpressed. Anyway, this game's it's pretty dull from here on out. As you see, I'm kind of waiting for my heavies on my team to catch up, but they're a bit reluctant. But I'll just end the video here. I hope you've enjoyed it, or found it informative in some way, and I'll see you all next time.